Today I'm going to show you how to remove the rear wheel of Urban Arrow family. This is a 2022 model, so it should have the latest dropout on the back. The reason I want to remove the rear wheel today is because I need to replace the rotor. The rotor has been through 3 brake pads already, so they're pretty worn out. So yeah, the first thing you kind of want to do is I'm going to show you how to do it without any lifting tool, so you can do this on the side of the road, or in your garage, with no specialized tool to kind of manipulate the urban arrow. So what I do is I use a large moving blanket. So these are really cheap blankets that people use to move furnitures. And the whole goal is just not to scratch up the urban arrow when you lay on its side. So put it on the ground, um, make sure it covers the whole length of the urban arrow, and then you tip it on its kickstand very carefully. Eventually, the kickstand will slip under you, but it's fine. Pretty sturdy. And then you want to pick up from the other side. Remember to realign your handlebar. Use the handlebar as a pivot because the handlebar is going to be what's supporting the urban arrow once you turn it upside down. Also remove whatever accessory on the handlebar you have. Now that it's removed, now it's flipped over actually, you can kind of see there are a few bolts kind of holding the dropout together. So these three are some of the bolts you want to loosen up, and then there's the chain guard you have to remove. You don't have to remove the entire chain guard, just the back section where the sprocket and the Inviolo shifter cable go. The chain guard is made of softer plastic, so it should be pretty easy to move around. What you want to do is pop it off these little, I would say, hole in socket retainers. So you can see there's two on top and one on the bottom, I believe. Yeah, so don't be afraid to pry on them a little bit. If you're doing this during winter, be a little more careful because the plastic will be more brittle. Um, so here you can see I removed it, and then I'm going to show you how the chain guard kind of which pieces I took off. So it's the inside piece and the outside piece. Here is a chain glide manual, so you can take a look in case you're wondering how that works. And if you're like doing emergency road repair, obviously you don't have to put the chain guard back together. So what you want to do now is loosen those 3 bolts I pointed out earlier, so that allow your dropout to move. Don't remove the bolts, just loosen them up and allow them, you know, some room to wiggle. Uh, so it's going to be 5 mm hex key to remove these bolts. The bolts shouldn't be super tight, but it's always nice to have a handy tool available. Um, so you can see, remember, turning left is to loosen the bolt, turning right is to tighten the bolt. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. I don't know why I'm struggling so much here, but oh well. All right. And then once I loosen this side, I'm gonna go to the other side and do the exact same thing. Loosen those bolts. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move remove the axle nuts. That will be a 15 millimeter socket. I just use a wrench that has multiple sizes, but 15 millimeter is the one you want to use. So you can actually remove the axle nut completely. Um, I haven't done that just because I still need to work on the cable on the NVLO shifting hub. So now you can see the dropout is really loose now because there's no tension holding them together. Um, and I'm just kind of wiggling around to loosen it up even further. So you can see it's moving. Sometimes they could be seized in there. In that case, if you're in a garage, spray some penetrating oil on it, and then it should loosen up. But just be careful not to spray the brake pad in the rotor, otherwise your brake is gonna squeak forever. So there are a couple of set screws here as well. You want to loosen those once they start wiggling around. So what the set screw does is it holds the dropout at a certain position. It's a chain tensioning tool essentially. So we're gonna loosen it quite a bit, but not removing. Just back it out to almost the edge. Now we're gonna undo the NVOLO shifting cable. But you can see here how you can tell it's loose is the chain is now super slack, so you can move the chain around and pop it off. Enough slack to pop it off. To move my camera stool. And now what I'm gonna do is release the cable for the NVOLO. So you have this lever that's under it, pull it up, it should pop out, and then you want to just kind of pull the cable off that rain and socket. And it's a little tricky. This is probably the trickiest part of the whole wheel removal is the NVOLO cable. What you can do is you can loosen it a little bit on the barrel adjuster near the handlebar to help you even more, but not super. It's every bike is a little different, but just pop it off and careful not to damage the plastic. Um, it is fairly fragile, so I think I have to use two hands to pop it off in a Allen key. And once you remove that, then you can pop the other one off fairly easily because the cable is loose on one side. And I will attach a NVOLO removal menu here so you can kind of see how the cable work. So what this is from NVOLO. This is actually video install step. So 1, 2, 3, if you go in that order, will be how you install the cable back on. So in this case, we're gonna go 3, 2, 1. So on step 3 is you pop it off and then you rotate it and then you pop off the other cable as well. I think they call it the high drive and the low drive cable. Um, and now I'm gonna try to get the chain off the sprocket. So basically, now the chain's loose. What I like to do is I would pull the chain off the sprocket, and then rotate it slowly so it can get out of it. You can do whatever you want, but this is a bit messy, this part. So if you don't have glove, then you can try to use some sticks on the side of the road, to pry it off. Keep your finger a little cleaner. And I apologize for the upcoming camera angle. Oh, actually, I'm removing the axle nuts now, so completely, yeah, because there are a anti-rotation spacer here. So I will show you just about now. There's one on each side, and there's no left and right, so you don't have to remember which one is which. And now the chain should be off the sprocket, and you pull it aside to the solid axle, and then you slip the whole thing out. And that is how you do it. So this is the sliding dropout that I was talking about earlier. You can see kind of how it works. And yeah, so and then the NVLO cable. This is a really good time to kind of examine if you have any cable damage. Um, that's a very common issue in the urban aero community. Is your cable is kind of damaged from all the rubbing, or corrosion. So look at that, and if the cable looks good, tighten check the tightness of the bolt that's holding the cable. If that works well, then spray a little bit of grease on it. That's what I like to do to kind of protect it from corrosion. And then check your brake pad at this time. Also a good opportunity. It's just a good opportunity to kind of wash this area a little bit.